If you're watching this, then you know. You know that life has a way of giving you two things at once, a soaring joy that fills your chest and a crushing weight that aches in your palms. My name is Elara, and this is the story of how I held both in my hands every single day. So pull up a chair, stay a while. If this story touches your heart, consider subscribing. Our channel is all about finding the light in the tangled, beautiful mess of being human. Our story begins not with a grand event, but with a quiet, persistent kind of love. Elara was a ceramicist. Her world was one of silent concentration, of cool, wet clay spinning under her palms, of the gentle heat of the kiln. She found her voice not in words, but in shape and form, and her greatest creation, she would tell you, was not a vase or a bowl, but a life built with Leo. Leo was her opposite in all the best ways. Where she was quiet, he was a burst of sound, a musician who heard symphonies in the drip of rain and the hum of the city. He didn't just walk into a room, he conducted it. They were a balance. Her stillness grounded his melody. His melody gave flight to her stillness. Their small apartment was a gallery of their union, her pottery on shelves he built, his guitar picks resting in the bowl she made for him on their first anniversary. Their love was a deep, steady river. But even the calmest rivers can be diverted by an unexpected storm. The diagnosis was a word that didn't belong in their bright, cluttered home: early-onset Alzheimer's. Leo was 58. The doctor's words were careful, clinical, but they fell like stones, each one rippling through the future they had painted. The man who remembered every lyric to every song he'd ever heard was going to forget. This was the challenge that settled into the corners of their home, as persistent as dust. Elara's heart remained full to bursting with love for the man she had known, for the fragments of him that still shone through. But her hands began to fill with tears. They were tears shed in the secret dark of 3 a.m., when Leo would wake, confused by the shadows. They were tears wiped quickly away as she patiently explained, for the 10th time in an hour, what year it was. They were the salt that mixed with the clay as she tried and failed to find solace at her wheel. Leo's world was slowly folding in on itself. He forgot how to play G major. He would look at their wedding photo with a puzzled fondness, as if admiring a lovely couple from a story. The melody of their life was slipping into dissonance. Elara became a guardian of ghosts, a curator of a museum whose main exhibit was slowly vanishing. The emotional depth of this pain was a lonely ocean. She grieved for him while he was still there, a peculiar and devastating sorrow. She was lonely in a crowd, lonely in his arms, because the him she knew was receding like a tide. One afternoon, a particularly bad day, Leo became agitated, looking for a songbook he could no longer recognize. Elara, exhausted, her hands trembling, accidentally knocked her favorite picture from its shelf. It shattered on the floor, 100 pieces of gleaming blue glaze. She didn't cry. She simply sank to the floor, staring at the fragments, a perfect metaphor for her life. Leo, startled by the noise, wandered over. He looked at her face, then at the pieces. Slowly, he knelt beside her. He didn't say, "It's okay." He didn't ask what was wrong. He just began, with infinite care, to pick up the shards and place them in her cupped hands. Her tears finally fell then, dripping onto the broken pottery in her palms. And in that moment, a resolution was born, not a cure, but a path forward. She looked at the pieces in her hands, wet with tears, and then she looked at Leo's face, so full of a concern he couldn't articulate. The next day, she didn't try to make a new pot. She brought the box of broken pieces to her studio. She took a fragment of the blue pitcher, dipped it in adhesive, and pressed it onto a plain clay base. She added a piece of a mug Leo had always used for coffee. She added a shard from a plate they'd bought on a long-ago trip. She began to create a mosaic, not from perfect tiles, but from their broken history. She called Leo in. "Can you help me?" she asked, placing a piece in his hand. He frowned in concentration, then pressed it into the clay beside hers. They worked in silence for an hour, rebuilding something new from what was lost. This became their new language. When words failed, they had texture and color. Elara started projects specifically to break them, old, failed pots, discarded cups, just so they could piece them back together into something entirely different. A heart full of love for the man he was, and the man he still was in moments, now worked with hands that transformed tears into art. The mosaics were jagged, beautiful, imperfect. They told the story of fracture and repair. Leo passed away on a spring morning with sunlight streaming onto a mosaic they had just finished, a tree with leaves made from the green of his old favorite coffee mug. Elara's heart broke anew, a final, profound shattering. But her hands knew what to do. They had been trained in the alchemy of grief. The story Elara wants to share with you, the message she hopes you take away, is this: you are strong enough to hold both. The immense love and the profound sorrow are not opposites. They are two sides of the same precious, fragile coin of having loved deeply. You don't have to choose between a full heart and tear-filled hands. Your resilience is built in the moments you allow both to exist, and you find a way, however small, to let one inform the other. You can build a new mosaic from the pieces of a broken dream. It won't look like the original, it will be different, but it can still be stunning. Elara's studio is now filled with mosaics. They sell and the funds go to Alzheimer's research. She still makes pots, but she always leaves a little imperfection in each, a small crack filled with gold, a practice called kintsugi. It is a reminder that breaks are part of the history, and they can be made beautiful. So, to you, watching, your heart might be full of a love that feels too heavy, and your hands might be trembling with tears you're afraid to spill. Hold them both. Create something from them. Even if it's just the simple act of getting up tomorrow and trying again. You are not alone in this feeling. This channel is a community for stories just like this one. If Elara's journey resonated with you, if you believe in the beauty of mending, please hit that like button and subscribe. Your support helps us share more light. Remember, a heart full of love can carry a handful of tears, and sometimes that combination can make the most beautiful art of all. Thanks for watching.